What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is May 21st, 2024, 4:03 in the afternoon. And I messed up today. I messed up my opening trade. Not that the trade I got into was bad. It just didn't work. What was bad about what I did today was that I didn't stop myself out where I was supposed to. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because I think it's something that everybody should be aware of if you don't already know. Most traders already know this. But the idea that contracts were extra cheap this morning puts in our heads that we should be a little bit more lenient on our stops. Why? Not because we haven't crossed the line that we should stop out at. It's because by the time we get to the line we should stop out at, you're not down nearly as much as you usually would be on a normal priced option day. And that gets into your head and you start to say to yourself, well, you know, this doesn't hurt so bad. I'm used to taking bigger lumps than this on stop out trades. I'm going to hold on to this one a little bit longer and see if it works out for me. I fell victim to that today. I'll be honest with you guys. I always tell you when I have a bad day. I always tell you when I have a bad trade. But I tell you these things embarrassed, number one. I beat myself up about it because unfortunately, I spend all day in front of hundreds of people trying to avoid from doing what I did so that I can be a good role model. And when I fall victim to the same thing that all of us traders face from one time or another in our trading careers, I beat myself up about it because I truly and genuinely feel like a piece of crap for doing it. Everybody in our community takes accountability for their trades. Nobody makes me feel like what I do with my trades is the reason that they do the same in their trades. Now, I'm not naive. Okay. I also know that there are people who are following everything that I do because my win rate is good enough that they feel comfortable doing that, which is fine. Okay. If that's the way you want to trade, that's fine. But I'm not comfortable with it because on days like today where I don't follow my rules, it becomes a catastrophic day for them. Now, the one thing that I want to say is that my trade today cost me less than 1% of my account, whereas many other folks are trading much larger percentages of their account balances than me. And even though because you can afford to gamble or break rules doesn't make it okay, it's also the reason that the rule exists that you should never trade more than 1% of your account on a given trade. So that if you have a weak moment like I did today and it goes to zero, which it didn't, but big enough pullback to where I would have been just as comfortable letting it do so, you don't blow your account up. Okay? Now, what trade are we talking about? Let's get into it. I ended up doing all kinds of things today because it started with the first trade of the day. And I will reiterate this as well. Every trade you take after the first one, good or bad, will have a direct effect on every subsequent trade you take after that. Okay? Now, I'm a perfect example of that. I felt it today. I did it today. I saw it today. I'm going to show it to you today. Let's get into it. We were trending down in pre-market. Fine. I'm interested in puts. Okay? That's the only reason. Qs were trending down in pre-market. SPY was trending down in pre-market. Happy. No problem. No put bias. Just going with the flow. Qs make it all the way down, close, and stay below their first target low, this 453.17. Told everybody, guys, I'm interested in aggressively getting in on puts so long as the Qs stay below 453.17. The minute the Qs close above that, we got to scrap the puts if you decided to take them, get out of the trade. Clear as day. Likewise, we had a put line scenario at 529.17. It was on yesterday's low of day. While we were waiting to get through that line, told everybody, same thing. Not only do we want the Qs to stay below that first target low line, we would be better for us to buy the pullback to 529.41 so that if the Qs don't move lower, or if you get in here, you have the opportunity to get out with profit if we can't make money on the puts below that line. So we waited for the pullback. We got into the trade. We were up on the trade. We closed below the put line. Qs stayed below the resistance, but a big green candle prior to. This is where I really started to get hesitant. I was already in the trade, got in at 931, okay? 931, right here on the pullback. We closed below the put line. I'm hoping for it to go down to our next target of 528.81. Easy peasy. So long as Qs stay below the orange line, I believe Qs are going to try and make a run for 452.54. Same thing I do every other day. Okay? This time, it didn't work out. Okay? ADD started to move up aggressively. Qs wanted to move up aggressively. This green candle right here was a telltale sign. I liked the size of the wick on the top of it, but man, there was some serious buying going on down there. We were talking about it while it was happening. Guys, remember, if SPY closes above that yellow line that we bought in on, get out of the trade. If Qs close above that orange line we bought in on, get out of the trade. So this should have been a very small loss, like a couple $100 for me in my position size, because I bought at a pullback. I'm stopping very tight. Theoretically, I didn't stop. Then the same thing that always happens to me when I don't get out of my trades where I'm supposed to, I start justifying why I'm staying in. Well, Qs are struggling to move higher here. Oh, they're coming off of a lower high, and they were, and it broke support and came back down. Had the opportunity to get out for break even at this point. Didn't take it. Wanted to see Qs continue down. Wanted to be right. Wanted to do greed. Everything, guys. I didn't want to lose on the trade. Let's call it what it is. But instead of getting out here like a smart person, recognizing it's a higher low, I held on to it. Oh, as long as Qs stay below 453.81, I'll hold on to it. It stayed below it. Higher low again. I tell people every single day, guys, don't buy puts at resistance off of higher lows. This usually breaks to the upside. We talk about this literally every day. So I'm going against everything telling me that the market is going up. Okay, till it got to a point where I said, you know what? Today's just not my day. This is 1% of my account. If it goes to zero, I can afford to do it. Doesn't mean it's right. I'm making mistakes. I'm performing like an asshole. Don't follow me. You should have got out with a much, much smaller loss. I ended up getting out of this trade somewhere over here, right around 1032, 1033, for a $2,200 loss. Okay, that was a 70.9% loss. Massive, massive loss on the trade. However, we were looking for the call. We had a call line all the way up at 530. Again, we put these lines here before market opens, 925. Put line here, call line here. Now, admittedly, our call put scenarios work well over 95% of the time. So I can understand why people like to play them, including myself. But today, we had a 50-50 win rate. Okay, this one didn't work. This one worked fabulously. Guys, as we're moving up, if you're going to play the call scenario, make sure that the Qs are above their line of resistance of 454.16. Okay? So at 1030, we had already broken the call line at 1029 on SPY. We just needed for Qs to not be at resistance. And as soon as we got the candle close above, that gave us the okay to get into those calls. So we got into calls here. If you're playing line to line, you got out just a few minutes later. Our stop loss, really tight, was a candle close below this body of this candle right here. Never happened. All right. Qs, we were hoping the Qs were going to make it up to their next blue line. They did that. And as they got close to it, they shot right through it. and got to their next orange line. Every one of those are opportunities to take profits. Okay? Now, I was still in this trade at this point, hoping that we were going to candle close on the Qs above this 454.70 resistance. Because then I would have felt much more comfortable holding to the next line of resistance. We ended up closing right on it. I held on to the trade a little bit longer. And once Qs got back up to this line of resistance, I went ahead and took myself out of the trade. That ended up being a 66.6% win. That was here. Okay. At this point, I'm still negative on the day, but not nearly as much as I was. Okay. From there, we start to chop sideways. We move up, put in a new high a day. Everybody was asking me, Jimmy, what would you do here? I said, guys, honestly, we're in a no trade zone for me. If we get into calls down here, there's not enough room between lines of resistance for me to say it's worth taking the risk. What I want to see, this is a conversation we were having over here. What I want to see is a move up to the yellow line, 530.78, with a pullback to support that would then give us the opportunity with a proven resistance higher than this one right here. Okay? That's what I was waiting for. Well, as we move forward, we get that move to the upside. Again, not interested in puts because it was clearly trending up today. We pull back. As we move down to support, tell everybody, hey, we're going to trust support and resistance. I'm going to take calls off the 530.25 line. Qs were on support as well. I was hoping to get back up to this high of day resistance. Now, at this point, we did have a resistance right here. We got within a few cents of it. So you could have gotten out of this trade with a 10%, 12% return. I wanted more. Okay. So as soon as we got in here, we got up to this point. I could have made myself slightly green on the day, believed that the trend of the day was going to continue. It did not. I immediately put my stop loss when I decide, just like I tell everybody in our community every single day. Guys, if you're going to hold your trades through our profit targets, please move your stops to break even or slightly in profit so that if greed doesn't give you what you want, you stop out with something. Now, why am I taking this trade, do you think? And again, is it because I was good and green on the day? No, it's because I wasn't green yet on the day. So the whole idea that every trade we take after the one before it, there's additional emotion involved in it. This is not a very big trade, usually not one I'm worthy of taking or wanting to take. But because I'm so close to being even on the day after these two trades, I say, hey, let me just take this trade, whether you want to call it a forced trade or not. I don't call it a forced trade because I was buying on a support that proved to be support in an uptrending day. I have no problems with this trade. What I should have done is respected the first level of resistance that we were coming to and taken what profits it was willing to give me. I don't know that it's going to stop there, and I don't know if it's going to get through and go up here. What I do know is that we went from support right up to resistance. And I didn't take advantage of that. So I ended up getting out of this trade with a very, very, very small win. $50, $10 per contract is all I made on that trade. Okay. Still down on the day, minus $350 or so at this time. Okay. We're moving down. Now on the Qs at 1157, we were looking at breaking a support. Okay. With the idea, actually, I think we were pulling back to resistance on the Qs. Yeah. Guys, what I was hoping for was buying at resistance, proven resistance right here, looking for it to come down to the blue line again. Okay, now I didn't take this trade, but we were trending down, lower highs, lower lows. Entry, because Qs were at resistance, lower highs, lower lows. We want that trend to continue. We get down to what was support right here. Okay, on SPY, this area over here, this wick, whatever you want to go by, in and out. I didn't take that trade, but there you go. We move up. Now, this time I had just left for lunch right after this. Okay, so I go away for lunch, come back at 1:16, something like that. All right, I see that we're not moving aggressively, not moving anywhere fast. Late day trade. I said, guys, I could get into calls here. 2 criteria. I want to make sure that we're breaching 530.35 on SPY, but more importantly, I need the Qs to be north of 454.91. Okay, so that happened at 138 on Qs. Okay, and again, Qs were putting in higher lows, higher highs at that point. And the reason I wanted it wasn't that line. It was this area right here. No, it was the line, right? Yeah, I wanted to be above this most recent resistance right here. That's what it was. So at 139, we cleared that resistance. That was this on the Qs, hoping for it to at least make it up to their high day resistance. And if it continues, our stop loss was on SPY. If we stop below the yellow line, I think we even made it a little bit looser. If we stay above 530.25, okay, so it was a 10-cent stop loss. That's what it was. We get in here because we breached the line here. Qs cleared resistance. We're expecting it to move up. This trade right here did everything we hoped it would do. We got in because we broke resistances on both SPY and the Qs, looking for it to run up to the next resistance. It did exactly that. That trade ended up being a 45.9% winner. And that was the last trade of the day I took. Now, normally I don't take 4 trades. Normally I don't trade late in the day. But I'm going to go back and reference the idea that had I stopped out of this trade where I was supposed to, this trade would have left me very green on the day. And then this trade and this trade would not have existed today. The reason I didn't stop or took a late day trade when I normally don't, or took a trade that doesn't seem like there's enough room in it, was because of the results of these first 2. Now, you guys can believe that that doesn't happen to you all you want. I am telling you that every trade you take after your first trade will be directly involving your previous trade. There will be some hint of your previous trade involved in the next one you decide to take. Now, even if it's a good first trade, sometimes we feel invisible. Sometimes we feel like we can't lose. Sometimes we feel like we didn't make enough, even though it was a winning trade. Nonetheless, you feel good enough to take another one. I'm up enough money that I can afford to risk some of that profit in hopes of making more, right? We tell our things everything we want to hear to justify what we are doing. I did it myself today, tried to stay in a trade that was clearly going against me, kept making reasons for staying in it while giving away money the whole time. So when I make these videos, I often get comments from folks saying, your losing days are my most teachable lessons in these videos. Okay? So I didn't lose today, but I feel like I lost because of the mistakes that I made on the very first trade out of the gate. And the point that I always make to you guys in these videos, especially on my losing trading days, is this is what I did, this is what I was thinking and what I was doing to myself while I'm watching my trade get deeper and deeper red. Okay? Right in front of God and everybody. And breaking rules. I don't care how long you've been doing this. If you're not trading with an algorithm, meaning something else is executing your trades for you, it is impossible to trade with zero emotion. This does not have financial attachment to it for me. A 1% of my account balance on this trade, I'm not worried about hurting myself financially. I'm worried about looking like an asshole in front of 300 people who are watching me do this. I feel like a loser for breaking rules while I'm admitting that I'm doing it and watching it get worse. It's embarrassing. And I hate it. I hate having to come here and make this video after a day like today. Now, when I got my head out of my ass and I started to take the chart for what it was showing me, I was able to have a nice, comfortable trading day. But it started out in the wrong spot. Took the trade for the right reasons. I have no qualms with the reason I took that trade. I truly believed that when I was getting into that trade, it was going to do what I hoped it was going to do. And that's fine. That's the way you should take a trade. I had the chance to get out with okay profit right here. Contracts weren't moving much, but I still could have gotten out. But at the very least, the reason this red circle is here is because that's where we should have stopped ourselves out of this trade. Jimmy didn't. Nope. He got out all the way over here. Oh, it's a slow climb up. Oh, look at the resistance we have here. All the stuff. Okay. But then, guys, clearly trending up. Let's look for the call scenario. This ended up being a beautiful trade. Beautiful trade. Okay. Had I just stopped out here, took this the same way I did, I'd have had a nice green day. I wouldn't have looked at the chart other than to help other people avoid mistakes or getting into good trades or attempting trades. After that, I would have never taken another trade on the day. I wouldn't have, because there would have been no need. I would have exceeded my profit daily goal. I would have felt good about that. I'd have been done. I don't want to work all day long. I want to get in. I want to get into the market, get out, and enjoy the rest of my time, not worrying about making more money or losing more money. Okay? That's something else we talked about today. Something else we're going to talk about in here. By the way, let's finish out the chart. This was a counter trend trade. One of my members was asking, hey, I'm contemplating puts. What do you think? I said, well, if you're going to do it, now is the time. So at 211, Qs were right up against the resistance they had just rejected over here. We told them, hey, if you're going to take these puts, no, it's a counter trend trade, so you want to be getting out when we get down to support. But if you candle close above this double top right here, you got to get out of the trade. Super, super tight stop. The best part about buying puts at resistance is you get to have a very, very tight stop, so long as you honor it. That trade ended up working out nicely. It was a nice, quick 3-minute trade, returned 25 to 30%. And that was that. All right. After that, there wasn't much to talk about. Just Qs started to make all-time highs again. SPY got awfully close to reaching its all-time high again, except this yellow line of resistance that we drew at 8:30 this morning during our charting session ended up putting the kaputs on SPY moving higher. And then we're going to have NVIDIA earnings tonight, so we'll see what happens at that point. But with all that said, guys, today was an okay day for some, bad day for others. Our poll numbers aren't looking great because when we have these slower moving, tighter ranging, no reports to stimulate the chart kind of day, they're rough. We've had quite a few of them these last few weeks. And it's wrecking more people than it's not. Okay. People, we're used to volatility. We're used to movement. We're used to things being quick and concise, and just, we're not getting that very often right now because, well, there's not much to report on at this point. So hopefully tomorrow we get some movement. There's nothing happening in the morning that's exciting. You got the FOMC minutes going to come out at 2:00. I will be long done trading by then, hopefully. And so I'm not looking to play that. But in those minutes, just remember that there was already a presser about that stuff. So there shouldn't be any surprises in these. You never know, but we'll see. And just keep your head on swivel, guys. Don't fall victim to the things that we try desperately not to. I mean, people ask me today, Jimmy, when's it okay to scale up? I have 26 green trading days in a row. When should I scale up? Guys, it doesn't matter the number of green trades, green days that you have in a row. That should never be the reason you scale up. When you should scale up will always be when you can say to yourself, honestly, I'm making less stupid mistakes. If you consciously realize that you're making fewer mistakes intentionally, meaning you're doing less stupid shit, that is a good time to start considering scaling up because you're being responsible enough to not do what was causing you harm prior to that moment, right? If you realize that you're constantly buying calls at resistance and then wondering why your calls fail more often than not, and you made a change to stop doing that, you're buying them on support now, that's a good thing. You probably see results, positive ones, when you do that. Okay, it doesn't work. No trade works 100% of the time, but there is definitely ways to stack probabilities in your favor that will absolutely increase your win rate, which will increase your confidence, your account balance, and you'll feel a lot more comfortable scaling up at that point. But you cannot become profitable or do better unless you stop doing what you know doesn't work. Okay? So with all that said, we're going to wrap it up. Hope you guys got some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, there's a link down below. We'd love to have you. First week's completely free. And by the way, I did add to our options here, not options in this chart. When we do the annual discount, which is going to be coming up at the end of June, I am now offered buy now, pay later as an option. Okay. Now, that is just something that the platform that these things go through on has started to offer. So maybe that's a little bit more intriguing for some folks because I know it's tough to dip into your pockets for large chunks of money sometimes. Totally understand. But that's at the end of June. And that's pretty much it. So you guys take care of your money, protect your profits, always cover your backside on trades that don't do what you're supposed to do. Don't hold in hope. It's not a winning strategy. Okay. And until tomorrow, hope you all had a fantastic day. Love you guys. See ya.